welcome to episode 78.
Hello.
I don't know if this is episode 78.
Probably not.
It's definitely not.
You should have gone for triple digits if we were going to lie, though.
Yeah, we're not really sure what number we're on, but we're just having a good time.
And we're bad at lying. You're supposed to go big or go home.
Also
so.
true. But this is Reed.
Hi, I'm Shannon.
And we're in the middle of, well, we're actually kind of towards the end, I guess.
Yeah.
Ish of our, phone call?
No, texting.
No, texting.
I didn't get to the D&D in time, so.
Oh, no.
But
You made a mistake.
I know. I fixed it.
I fixed it. We're at the end of our parent big questions / heavy topic. People on, what do you call those? Guests.
Yes.
Celebrity guests, which only probably a handful of people know, but they're celebrities to us.
We love them dearly.
Which is really all that matters.
They'll probably get more celeb status as
after
we bring
this.
them after this, and then we're going to bring them back.
Yeah, honestly, I was trying to think of how famous we actually were, and I was trying to come up with like a guy-girl equivalent. But I was having a really hard time.
I don't know. You put me on the spot.
With that, I think maybe Joe Exotic and Carol Baskin.
I don't know. They've kind of jumped up there. I don't know if we're there. We're probably at their level pre-Tiger King.
Yeah, pre-hatred of each other.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if they ever liked each other, but
no. Although I'm kind of sad that that's our level.
Oh, well, I don't really know of another. I don't know of another duo like us.
We're unique. We're one of a kind.
One of a kind, which is why we have all these fans that listen to us.
So
thanks,
today,
fans. So today we're going to talk about the how to have like theological conversations with your child.
Yeah, we've talked about a couple specific things and stuff
like that, real big ones.
But the unfortunate side effect of having a very big God is that you can't know everything about him. So your kids are going to ask you questions, and you're going to be like, I don't know.
Well, and like you said, even with your kids, there's so many questions to ask. Mm-hmm. But like we were talking about earlier today, of like what your kids choose, is totally based on something that they saw or something in a book that they read or whatever. It could be past experiences like your kids.
Yep.
And so what I think is super funny is that they catch things that you just did not see.
Yeah.
Like you wish you did as a parent. You're like, wow, why are you smarter than me, my 2.5-year-old child?
Truth.
But.
Well, and I mean, I think that, so some of that goes the way your kid's interpreting life and scriptures to an extent and things like that. It's kind of the reverse side of why we love movies so much as an adult. And if you've never read the book Epic, like this is kind of a little bit of a rabbit trail, but I promise to bring it back. If you've never read the book Epic by John Eldredge, I highly recommend it. It's like a tiny little thing. If you're a slow reader, it might take you 3 hours. Like it's just a small little
that'd be good for me.
Postcard size, skinny little thing. But it talks about the reason we love stories so much is because a good story is going to reflect the truth of God and his redemption. So if you think about Disney movies, if you think about all of these big movies that we love, there's some sort of redemption process happening within the main characters. There's always a villain. You always want the hero to win. There's something there that tells us truth that in our hearts we already know. There's some C.S. Lewis in there, which, I love C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, right.
But I think the reason our kids wind up making these really weird questions and everything is that they're getting the truth on the backside rather than straight reading the Bible, which we recommend. But it's also good to have them have those stories and experiences to be like, okay, so how does this relate to the truth I'm being told through the Bible? And where's it different? And that's where we get the weird questions, I think, is when they're like, here's all these stories, and to some certain level of age, they're going to believe that these stories are as true as the Bible. And so our job with parenting and these questions that your kids are asking is help them navigate what the difference between the the fictitious stories that reflect truth and the actual truth are.
Yeah, and I think, while you were talking, one of the things that is probably in my head, like, tip number one that I would give to parents of incredible practicality of teaching your kids theology is if they experience anything for the first time, why are you not experiencing it with them?
Right.
Like, you have to be there. You have to do it. Like, we started letting our daughter watch some things from Frozen because she loves Anna Elsa. Loves them, but doesn't really. She's never seen it, but she absolutely loves them. It's her favorite PJs. It's her favorite little stuffed animals. Like, those are stuffed people, I guess.
Stuffed people.
Not animals. She absolutely loves them. But, like, the magic part of Frozen, like the majestic and magical kind of thing, confuses her. She has no idea what. But there, like you said, there are principles in there that we can teach her. But in the same vein, if I'm not there to say, "Oh, Kinley, that's like something called magic. It's fake. Like, it's not a real thing. But this is a fictional story," and describe to her what a fictional story is. Then things get really cloudy. But that I would recommend that to parents all the way up till, like, their kids leave. You know what I mean? Like, if your kid experiences anything for the first time, you should probably be around. Like,
and I think that goes to, so my family used to get these movies called feature films for families. Do you remember?
No.
It was back in the old school, like, you got the paper form and you had to fill out which movies you wanted and then snail mail it with postage back to the company. And then they
send you the movies. Yes.
The video cassettes. Yeah. They would mail you back the video cassettes. And it was a Christian company that did super cheesy B-rated stuff. But every movie had questions on the back of it. So you'd watch the movie as a family and then you'd digest it. And we were digesting our movies from a very young age because of this. My mom was very, very, we watched it the first time as a family, and then we had to do the questions. And it was like the worst thing in the world. I was like, I don't want to do this kind of thing. But it was so beneficial because it taught me how to take something that wasn't true but extract the truth from it, and to be aware of what I was watching. And I think even as adults, we can be so bad about just letting stuff affect us without actually processing what it is we're seeing. Like, and that's not just quote unquote fiction, fake news though.
Yeah.
Well, like,
it's
it can
exhausting.
be our news. It's all of our stuff. Like, sometimes we just want to veg, but if we're not taking the time to process it, that stuff can affect us without us realizing it. And then we aren't really sitting down and saying what is true, what is not true, and how does that affect my biblical worldview.
Yeah, well, our movies like what was that one? The Adventurers, or you know what I'm talking about? No, dang it!
No,
oh,
Rigoletto is my favorite. Highly recommend it. It's like a you'll see it as like a cheesy BE spin-off Beauty and the Beastie kind of thing.
Oh no!
But it's fantastic. I still love it. I will show my daughter that movie and we will love it together.
Oh no! But yeah, I think. What I think is super interesting is, like, if you're there, good and bad, you should be there to help them. Like, I think all too often, I find myself not concerned if Kinley is reading her kids' Bible.
Right.
Like, oh, okay. Like, I don't need to be a part of that. Like, great, she's reading her little kids' Bible. Like, I'm so glad that she's doing that. Instead of sitting there and describing to her, like, hey, this is, like, instead of basically, like, ingraining into her now in her own way of what the gospel message is, of, like, oh, while you're reading this, like, let me tell you about what's happening in Jesus' story. And
we use the Jesus, we use the YouVersion Bible app for kids, and it reads it to them. Like, there are nights where I'm just like, I'm just holding this thing. I'm
barely kicking.
Prop. You guys click and touch and listen and all that stuff. I'm good.
I crawled in here today. I'm just trying to make it.
But I mean, the best moments and the moments that we have the most conversation are the ones where I'm like, oh, look at this and what happens when we do this. And if I stay engaged, it can be easy sometimes to check out in all facets of life with our kids. But being engaged and being present is such a big part of it. I know I've said it before. I think another big key in helping your kids understand theology and develop that is always doing the, well, what do you think? Or like getting to the heart of what is your kid actually asking, because a kid that asks, how has God always lived, and they're 4, it's going to be a different conversation than with your 14-year-old.
Yeah.
So getting a gauge for what they're thinking and how they're thinking about it is so key, and it lets them start their cognitive reasoning skills too. So letting them try and process it first before you jump in and you're like, well, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It allows them to try and start figuring things out and putting it together and making their faith their own versus always being spoon-fed. And then they get to kind of the college years and they're like, well, it's just what my parents always told me. Like, I don't really know. I don't know how to process any of this. My parents just told me what to believe.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this with our guests. We've talked about this a number of times. It's okay to say you don't know and then go find somebody who knows. Like, I think... I cannot confirm this, but 98% of student pastors are viewed as just event-only kind of people. Like, I'm pretty sure that most of our students do not think that I work right now.
Oh, yeah. Same in children's world.
Yeah. So, but interestingly enough, if you don't understand, like what you just said, if you don't understand how your kid is thinking, or you don't understand where they're at or why they ask this question, we study that behavior.
Right.
And we're more than willing to help.
Right.
So find somebody at your church, find somebody who specializes in that. That'll help you, give you a hint as to where to go next, or resources to go next, or somebody else to just help you walk through it.
And then there are going to be those questions that are just too big for anybody.
Yeah.
So a lot of the common ones that I've always heard with kids, and even my kids are starting to go through it, is like, can anybody kill God? And how has God always lived? And how big is God? And things of that nature, where they're trying to take a God that is so much bigger than us and put it into this box of world that they understand, and being able to have the conversation with your kids of, nobody really knows that, and isn't it so good that we worship somebody that is bigger than us and can take care of us, and that we, like, if we could understand God, like, that would make him the same as us, and we wouldn't want to worship somebody like that. We're so glad that God is bigger than we can understand. And you know what? Let's put that on the list of things to ask God when we get to heaven. I bet he'll be able to explain that, and I bet we'll understand it when we get there. But making it clear to your kids that there are things that we can take guesses and we can try and understand best we can, but like, not even the greatest Christian theologians of all times, not even the people that walked with Jesus on earth, know everything about God. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Bringing it in a good way to your kids that we are worshiping somebody that knows more and is more than we can ever be.
Yeah, and if you're looking for validation as a parent, I mean, I think most of the time we look for validation as a parent by having answers. We're the parent. We should have answers. But your kid doesn't actually want that from you. Mm-hmm. Like, at some point, if you answer all of the questions, they're like, ugh. You know what I mean? Like, every once in a while, they just want to think, especially teenagers, they just want to think that they ask you a question that you don't know either.
Right.
And that's okay. Like, it's okay to not know. It's okay to not have all the answers, because really in this society, in this culture, that's what they're really struggling with, is I have to have an answer for everything.
Right.
And that's what keeps a lot of them away from having a personal relationship with Jesus in the first place.
Right.
Oh, I don't know everything about him, so how in the world could I actually love him or know anything about him or whatever? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think to your point, I think the stories is great. I think you have to read the Bible with them. I think you have to read other stories with them.
Yeah.
So that way you can find the parallels of Scripture and stories. I think, like anything else, you have to pray together. I think at some point, my family is not a family that is in that realm comfortably. Mm-hmm. Like, praying together is just kind of like weird faux pas that like we kind of try to do, but like at the same time, it was like neither one of us grew up that way, so
it's a new muscle.
Yeah, it was weird creating it, but I think it's so valuable and so important. Like, really, the difference that our daughter sees between the fictional stories that she experiences and then the Jesus story that she experiences is that we talk about Jesus more. We talk about how Daddy works for a church and we love Jesus and Jesus loves us. And we talk about all these things that kind of revolve around Jesus, and then we talk to Jesus. So for her, that's the difference. The difference is like the holistic.
Right.
Oh, like we like it seems stupid, but we don't pray to Anna Elsa. You know, we don't pray to them. Daddy doesn't work for a church where people go and sing to Anna Elsa.
Right.
It's just a different. It's just a whole different vibe, which is what I would say at the end. Unless we model it to our kids too, that's the easiest way to teach them theology.
Yeah.
I think it's super important to vocalize it, like, hey, like Paul did. Hey, I'm doing this, and here's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But at the end, if all they saw was that, I think your kid's in good shape.
Yeah, and one of the things my mom was always intentional about was like I know there's different camps throughout Christendom on Santa Claus and Easter Bunny and all the fun fictitious things that we do in childhood. But we did have Santa Claus visit our house when we were a kid. We never did the Easter Bunny. Half of that was, even as a kid, I thought the Easter Bunny looked creepy in the malls.
I mean, they were kind of creepy, to be honest. That's like
I've never seen an Easter Bunny that I'm like, oh, I want to go meet him. Like,
that's one of my favorite games to play with students. We have like a creepy Easter Bunny game where there's a bunch of pictures.
Man, it's creepy. But with Santa Claus, when I was older, my mom said I never let Santa be bigger than Jesus at Christmas time. And I think that's a big, like, that's just a good point for all of your parenting choices, is don't let anything get bigger than Jesus. So it's okay to enjoy Christmas traditions around Santa Claus. It's okay to have the Easter Bunny if that's your thing. It's okay to have the Tooth Fairy. Our kids are asking, does the Tooth Fairy come every night? We're like, no, only when there's a tooth. Like,
yeah.
That's their deal. We watch Legends of the Guardians or something like that. Anyways, it's about Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Good movie. But we let our kids experience that, but at no point is our lives ever centered around these magical things,
right?
The way Jesus is. Like, Jesus is the foundation of our life. So when it comes time and they're like, is that real? We will have the conversation of, no, it's not. It was something fun we were able to do, like all these other fun things we did through life. And now that you know the truth, that's okay. Let your siblings have fun with it as long as they want to. But Jesus is still here. Like, even after those things fade, after you know those things aren't real, Jesus is still here even when we're adults. So Jesus is different. And then the other thing I'd say about teaching theology to your kids that has been helpful for me as I spent time in children's ministry and had to figure out how to talk theology to kids, which can seem complicated, but on some level I feel like it's easier than adults.
Yeah.
But I think if you just take it back to the relationships you understand in a face-to-face way, such as my relationship with my parents or my relationship with friends or with my sister or, whatever, if you take the truths of relationship that you are experiencing on a day-to-day basis, and you take, like, relationship is relationship. The depth of it changes and the intensity sometimes, but there's constants throughout every relationship, both the good and the bad. And take that and help it inform your theology for how our relationship with God should be. I think that can always bring clarity as well. So, with the Trinity, that was always a big thing. Like, how once kids start realizing we're saying, God is three people, it's God, Jesus. They're like, well, is it God or Jesus or Holy Spirit? Like, I'm confused. How is he three and one?
Yeah.
Like, we only worship one God, so Jesus isn't God. Like, you have all those kinds of conversations.
I knew a kid like that one time.
Around third grade is
like
usually when they start.
3 personalities.
Well, there's that. That's a whole different conversation. But I talk with kids. It's not wholly accurate, but it helps them wrap their mind around it. If you say, well, you are a son and you are a brother and you are a friend all at the same time, but you are different with your friends than you are with your dad. There's different types of you, but you're still the same person. So that's one of the things that I feel like comes up with every single kid at some point, even adults.
Yeah.
And I think that's better than like the egg and the shamrock, all those kinds of things. Like it's the relational aspect of we go to God our Father in a different way than we go to God Jesus or God Holy Spirit. They play different roles in our lives. And it just so happens that God is so big that they can be three separate individuals as well.
Yeah.
And present themselves individually as well as being holistically one.
Right.
So I think God made us for relationship, and so much of the relationships we experience help inform our understanding of God. Especially as a parent, we now understand God in a different way than we did before being a parent.
Yep.
I see all the memes of like teenagers is God's reminder of what it's like for you to create something in your own image and have them hate you.
Yeah. Yeah,
those kinds of
that
things,
makes sense.
you know, we just understand God in a different way as a parent. So that's probably my other big thing as you try and guide your kid through theology and understanding faith as their own.
Yeah. Yeah, which I think too, I mean, really in theology being a lot about relationship, you have to teach them too that same way with your relationships on earth here, your relationship with God has ups and downs and flows, and sometimes you're going to hate him and be mad at him, and at the same time you're still in relationship. Like
right.
you don't stop the relationship. Like
right.
it continues to go whether you hate me or not. Like I'm still your dad. You really don't have any choice. Sorry that we didn't have any more of those cheese sticks that you wanted, but like here we are. I'm still here, still taking care of you.
Yep.
So. All right, well, I think we're good. I think that's it for this week.
That's Theology Talking 101 with kids.
Yeah, which I always find it to be really interesting what your kids ask you. So if you have anything that is like, my kid asked me this.
And I have no idea where to go with it.
Or I thought it was just super hilarious.
That too.
Then comment it in the link because we would like to read it. I would think that was super funny.
I love good kid questions. Kids Say the Darndest Thing was a show for a reason.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.
See ya.